video in which I will just be going over how I read certain React applications, and I think this one is going to be beneficial for a lot of you because some of you guys out there want to not learn code with tutorials, right? Because in tutorials they usually teach you stuff with building the root components and then building up, and then at last having that overview. But if you just go out there and read other people's code, it is a really good way to learn, right? That is an alternative way. But the only problem being that if it is the first time you're ever going to read any React projects, you might get a little bit confused on how certain people laid their stuff out, and overall how people organize their stuff, right? Going from file to file just might complex you a lot. So I'm going to be going over how people usually lay out their stuff and how I will read these applications. So first of all, let's go to I first of all just like to read a really normal applications, right? Like a to-do list is a benchmark. I will personally say that a to-do list is a benchmark for showing your understanding of a certain JavaScript framework. So I just found a random React to-do list. I have already read it, so let me actually search up another one just to show how I really, how I really read it fresh off the boat. So let me go to React to-do list, and this one is definitely something I have not read. Okay. The first thing you always have to figure out is if the repository slash project is created with this thing called Create React App. Now, Create React App is a library in itself. It has over 70,000 stars. Actually has like 74,000 stars on GitHub, which is like probably the top 10 starred projects on GitHub. I'll check later. I'm actually pretty interested. The first one is definitely, it might be TensorFlow. I think TensorFlow is up there, React is up there, and Create React App is up there. And it may be like Flux or some crap, I don't know. But anyways, now this app already looks like it might be created with Create React App, but I am not sure. Anyways, you're gonna see a public folder, you're gonna see a source folder. Usually people have that. Now this person is using something called MopeX for state management, which I have never used, so I might be a little bit confused on this. An alternative to state management can be Redux, or you might as well just not use any state management package, because sometimes if you just build your application without any state management package, you actually are more clear of what certain components contain other subcomponents, and you actually have to be really considerate and optimizing of the stuff. So, but first of all, let's read some of these base folders, because sometimes base files, because sometimes these base files like git.ignore can knock people off. Now, just knocking this off, git ignore is just something that you want the git to ignore when you're deploying stuff. So it's not really an important package file. If you go into it, you're just going to see a list of list of file names. README is usually somewhat required for any GitHub repository. This readme.md is going to .markup is going to it's going to show this thing right here. And the package lock.json, you don't want to care about that, but package.json is going to contain some of the stuff that you might be using. Oh, this guy's using a lot of stuff for a to-do list. Maybe it's to show off like a master to-do list, because this is a lot. but you're going to see something that every single every single React app has, which is scripts. You know, you in the actual terminal, when you start a React project, you're going to do npm run start, but you can also do npm run build or npm run test. And then you can also create your own script. An example of when you create your own script is if you want to use something called the nodemon to run both. Actually, you want to use nodemon to run the backend server, and you want to use start to run the front end server, but you actually want a script that can run them both together. So you might want to write a new script called dev, and then maybe in the command for that script is going to run both start and the other script that you're going to be creating for the running the backend nodemon, running the server with nodemon. These things are usually not on in every single React app. You might see ESLint config for certain React app. ESLint is just like a JavaScript checker, right? It checks how clean is your code. It sometimes gets in your way a lot. Like for example, it checks whenever you imported a package but you're not using it. And I have a lot of that errors or warnings on there. Yarn.log is similar to package.json. It's going to have, actually I forgot to explain that in package.json you're also going to see your dependencies, which are the packages you install onto this certain React app with npm install, and you're going to see that in yarn.log too. So now let's actually tackle the actual React app. We want to go to public, and usually speaking in public you're only going to see favicon.ico, index.html, manifest.json. You don't need to care about manifest.json. You want to care about favicon.ico if you want to deploy your app, because favicon.ico is going to be this little icon thing right here, and then index.html is going to tell you is the base HTML file. So really when the oh god, where is it? When every single when all the Java JSX files compile, JSX being the React file name, compiles, and it's going to really map to HTML at the end, right? And then all of the HTML is going to exist in root, in this thing called root, because in source and index.js we have react dom.render root inside of the HTML elements with the ID of root, which is the div that we saw earlier. And then okay, so then at this point, you know where the components are coming from. You know what is being rendered in the HTML file, or the HTML file really corresponds to the entire web page. So now you're gonna know what is rendering on the entire web page. But you have to branch out from this root thing, right? This root equals to provider. That I'm going to get to in a second. It's going to render app, and then you go back here and you go to what is app rendering. And you don't see app because probably this app thing is from the subfolder components. So we come here and we see what app contains, and then we go to its render function to see what is showing, what is rendering, and we see just a few things, right? We see now div. Now if you look at something like div or header, which are some basic HTML tags, they're not going to be rendering and telling you more information. But whenever you see something that is named by itself, that is created by the user, like to-dos checked all, to-dos remaining, that is going to be another subcomponent. And you want to go to to-dos check all to see what that is rendering, and you keep on branching and branching. So maybe when you're keeping track of what is the ultimate web page rendering, you want to maybe draw draw this thing like a tree map, right? And then you want to start from the roots and what the root is going to connect to, and what each individual component in the subcomponents of root are going to connect to, and keep going, keep going. And then you're going to finish drawing that map, and you're going to get a clear sense of what goes to what. And that's what I would do for sure. So let's keep looking. So at this point, we really know what is being rendered. And there are also some things that you can, that later on, if you just experience with React more and more, you're going to just read it and you're going to know what it's going to be doing. Actually, these are the things. I mean, I should rephrase that and say there are components that are not default, but when you read them, you're gonna know by its name that it's not gonna render more information. To-dos filtered is going to probably render the to-do list information. But React CSS transition group is going to be rendering whatever is inside of it right here. But this React transition group itself doesn't render information. It renders whatever inside of it and apply effects to it, like transition, whatever. And you're gonna get to more of these examples. So maybe for example, there's a React package called React drag and drop. The thing itself doesn't tell you more information, but whatever you put inside of it is going to have more information. Yeah. So at this point, you know what is being rendered, and you know what the component's name might suggest you. Now, what do we need to do is, actually, I don't know what to do. In every single component, you might see it being class. Sometimes you might see it being functional. These all have advantages to itself. Use functional whenever you can. Yeah, that's the usual standard. And in class, you can use something called a lifecycle method. So for example, component.didMount is one of the lifecycle methods. So you might just want to be doing something when the component mounts, and when the component updates its state, maybe you want to change something, right? I don't know. So that is a really simple React project. But I want to be showing you guys more. And I want to first of all be showing you guys applications that uses Redux as a setup, because a lot of applications use Redux, and this one uses Redux too. And we can tell this 2D React app uses Redux because if we go to root.jsx, what is it called? Yeah, app.js, right? No, it's not here. Okay, let's go to index.js first, because that's where it shows. Okay. If we go to index.js, we see that root is going to have something called a provider that contains the app thing. Now, this provider thing is the Redux code is how the Redux contains everything. And what Redux does is, in real simple words, it provides global state management. Usually, you have a state inside of every single component, and you usually don't want to go too far into another component to change its state, because the code written will be kind of weird and hard. So instead, whenever we have a global state that might be shared to many components and even across different folders, we use Redux. An example of when we want to be using Redux is, for example, anything that has to do with user authentication, because the user authentication state will probably want to be passed into a lot of its subcomponents. Okay, so that tells you what is being, this thing right here, provider, tells you that this is a Redux application. Now we can get more information if we go to store. That is going to tell you, store is going to tell you, store, some people have a single store.js file, and then that imports reducers and actions, but looks like this guy just has everything inside of his store. Yeah, and then we can see that there are certain functions like this, like retrieve to-dos, add to-dos, delete to-dos that can be implemented in every single React component in order to change a global Redux state. So that's really it for Redux, for reading any Redux/React project. Now let's go to something even more complex. Let's do a random full stack. Let's go to a full stack app example. And full stack app meaning that it also has to do with the backend instead of just a front end. So we come over here and we see something called basic MERN stack app. Now MERN is the backend is Express and Node, and the database is Mongo. And the way this guy is ordering stuff is the main folder, so the folder basic MERN stack app, is going to contain a subfolder called client, which has every single thing that goes on in the front end side, but every single other stuff, every single the other folders that exist on the same level as client is going to be doing with the backend. So this package.json right here is actually not going to be, oh god, I can't go back, is actually not going to be the dependencies that the front end needs, but rather the dependencies that the backend needs. So we can see here, yeah, body parser, Express, Mongoose are very, like you already can tell by the name that, you know, body parser is something that you need in the backend, and it indeed is used in the backend. It is used to parse JSON files, and it's like a middleware to parse the JSON files in order to tell you and kind of interpret the information. It's not really things you need to worry about, but yeah. But every single other thing here is going to be dealing with backend. And usually there's going to be a singular file called server.js that has a logic of connecting the backend to the database. Now in this one, I don't see a server.js, but I'm sure there is going to be something similar. So maybe let me go to routes. Okay, I don't see it. Perhaps the guy doesn't have a... Oh, maybe it's config.js. No, that's not. Did this guy just give his... Okay, I thought that he gave his MongoDB database information away. Oh yeah, he called it the app.js. So in this app.js here, we're gonna see the connection between the database, which is called MongoDB, and there's a client connector called the Mongoose, and it's going to connect this Mongoose thing to our Express server. And we can see other stuff like how we're going to route stuff, right? Whenever somebody sends an API request to us that ends with that starts with /API/articles, we're going to route it to this articles file, and that articles file is going to be inside of, it's going to go to routes, and it's going to go to article routes. I'm pretty sure that's what I read, right? And right here we're going to say router.get, and that's what's going to happen if our router gets something. Right here it says a slash, so that's what happens when somebody gets sends a get request to /route/API/articles.js, and then this is what's going to happen if somebody sends a request to /API/article routes or /article/my article, something like that. And then, you know, and these are just the things that happen if somebody sends you a request to the backend. You know, the app.js, how that guy named it, or, you know, usually people name it server.js because it makes more sense, is going to have the information of where should the server look for when you send a certain API request, which is as he or she. Yeah, it's a she, a girl who loves the code. she enjoys tea with her mom. Really nice girl. Yeah, but I'm sure you guys get the point. So that's really it. Don't want to show you guys more because it's kind of late for me. It's 1:33 in the morning, so I don't know what I'm doing. But thank you guys a lot for watching. In summarization, you know, a lot of people use Redux, a lot of people use React, a lot of people use full stack services like Merm. So you just want to know the files that a lot of them have in common, and just be able to tackle the things that are not in common to learn more information and, you know, upgrade your arsenal. So have a nice day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow or sometimes later.